So the first part would be like to link those IoT devices such that they just push data to an unstructured DB, in this case like being DynamoDB. Everybody, when you come into the team, you'll be the mop guy. You won't be the analyst. We do not do deliveries by hand, and for this would be accurate route mapping, like VRP. That's the like a vehicle routing problem. I created like a good routing system that is currently in play.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you work for AWS, maybe you should just point us to where we should pick our certifications from because I think we're ready. Um, thanks, Francis. Amplifying African tech stories, elevating technical brilliance. This is the Geo Habari podcast with Yariwo Kitio. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Geo Habari podcast. This is the Tech Stacks and Architectures series. We have intentionally curated this series to take us on a learning journey to understand the individual building blocks of powerful tech stacks that make geospatial technology tick. From programming languages, databases, softwares, cloud infrastructure, and so much more, we feature individuals sitting at the very core of developing these systems end to end. Welcome to the Tech Stack series. Hi guys, I'm starting this episode with two announcements. One is we now have a GeoHabari playlist. Yay! I curated the GeoHabari playlist with so much love, and it has all the different podcast episode categories, the different themes across the sector or industry. For example, the young professional segment, we have the tech stack series, we have the space ecosystem segment, we have the banter segment, and the playlist has them organized in these very categories. Please check it out. It's pinned on our LinkedIn page. I think it makes it so much easier to know which episodes you'd like to listen to. Then the second one is our LinkedIn page. We now have a GeoHabari LinkedIn page. Please go follow. We have dropped the other account, which was previously running as an individual account. So we are now currently running the LinkedIn page as a company page, which is where all the podcast postings will be happening. Please go follow the new page. It's still very new. We opened it literally like a week ago. Those are the two key items I wanted to mention before this episode. Thank you. We are on the last episode of the Tech Stack series, last but definitely not least. It's been such an educational journey. I hope you've learned a thing or two across the 5 episodes we've had under this series. This is us wrapping up the series. On this episode, we're joined by Francis Kioni. Francis is a senior geoanalytics engineer at MGAS. And I've been trying to get Francis onto the pod from last year. I'm so happy we finally got to record this. Francis also has the most insightful takes on LinkedIn. I'll also plug his account on the podcast description for this particular episode. Hi, Francis.
Hi, how are you?
It is so good to have you, and thank you for saying yes to coming to the pod. Maybe before we start, tell us a bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Yeah, sure. My name is Francis Kioni, GIS analyst, basically the deep interest in like GIS and a lot of remote sensing as well as current trends in GII. I am the senior geospatial analytics engineer at MGAS Kenya, subsidy like a partner with Safaricom and a subsidy of Circle Gas UK. And over the years, worked in a range of projects, basically from creating the markets for MGAS, being the only GIS person there. It's a one-man show at the moment. And yes, I'm glad to be here. And let's take it away.
I'm so happy you mentioned two key things. One is you're a JS analyst, and it's a one-man show, very relatable. And the second one is MGAS. And your model kind of shook up the market for a bit. The fact that it was this smart metering, which was very new in the LPG business. Briefly talk to us about MGAS to create context on why I'm saying I think you shook up the market for a bit. Yeah.
Okay, we offer pay go, that is pay as you go cooking solutions. Basically, we provide you with 13 kg gas LPG gas cylinder as well as a cooking stove, and we install our smart meters in it, whereby for you to cook, you have to recharge, and once your credit depletes, you have to recharge again, like you can't cook. So that's how it goes. We offer like free cylinder changes as well. So at any given time, you only have the first installation cost, and it does not, you don't have to pay the full amount, like around 500, and you're sorted for cooking solution. Basically, it's clean cooking solution as we call it.
It was a very new model. I'd not seen anything like that, at least in this market. I'm not as informed as I was about LPG. We'll get back on that, but I want us to do a quick fire. And I'm going to ask you two random questions, but then we'll get into your one-man show at MGAS. So the first one is, if you had to use one tool in your arsenal for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
It would be R, and this is why. For R can do anything from data ingestion, manipulation, create dashboards as well, visualize data, call in, how do I say, like connect with the external DBs and everything. And also it's easy to understand, and like the way you structure codes. It doesn't like Python will need indentation or anything. It just like write as one big line and it will run, doesn't matter. And for this, I feel there are also like a lot of packages and libraries out there that can do anything you want by just calling it and write 2, 3 lines, and you'll be sorted for the rest of your life. So basically, you just call either be a leaflet, you want a dashboard, R Shiny, BSLib, and you're good to go. So I guess R is what I'll be picking as my arsenal, live or die.
I like how you're very confident in that answer and how it feels like you were prepared for this question. Okay, go to the second one. Let's see the second one. If your code could speak, what would it say about you and why?
If my code could talk, what could it say about me?
Yeah.
Complicated, first thing first. And also trying to sneak things that should not be there. Fancy, I would say. So I would say like you write a code, it works, you're trying to add more things, ends up crashing, and so you have to remove everything and like set it back to default. That's what my code is saying.
Thank you. I really like the quick fires because it gives us a whole other perspective that we never really get to see maybe on CVs or on LinkedIn profiles. So yeah, thank you for participating in that. I want to go back to your intro just briefly. Besides the one-man show, I'm curious to know if you've had other pivotal, unexpected moments in your career trajectory. What was that like?
Yes, I've had. I would say even like my current role, when I went there, I thought like they had like an established, well-established GIS department and everything, like everything is in order from data handling and everything. But only for you to find everything is in shambles. They don't have an idea of what you should do and where you should start. And as such, you start being the only person who can do that. And as such, you're always don't know where to start, where to end, because you really don't have an idea of what's going on there until you are absorbed for a few months. Then you can be able to relate. This is where this goes. This is what they need. This is what they don't need. And also the biggest shock was more of nothing there is desktop, everything is cloud. So when for you trying to also to configure everything together, saying like they expect you to know everything, yet it's their systems. So like that was a shock for me, like trying to integrate my day-to-day simple tools like from the act description and everything, like to work with their systems. That was the biggest issue I've ever had. And also like how they configure how do I put it? Like once you're out of the office, you cannot do anything with your machine, basically. So yeah, so like even if you work from home, it's a whole lot of things. Like you really can't work. Let me just say that.
You know, the life of a GIS professional and the transition to career and corporate world normally feels like a page from the same book. Like it's very similar. Like as you're speaking and you're just like, how suddenly you're getting into this working space and it's people are using cloud. you suddenly need to start automating things, and you're just like, wait a minute, I don't think I was taught this. And it's normally such a baptism by fire experience. And I think we need to talk about that a bit more. Let's go to your role. Yeah, right. The senior geoanalytics engineer. I want you to help us have a good understanding of what it means to be in that role and how it contributes to the bigger picture, right? How does it support business? How does it support operations? Because I think that's the other thing that we need to get a really good grasp of, especially for the younger audience.
As a start, I'm like the bridge between management, sales operations, and the final consumer of a product. In the sense being, I would say management always wants to try new things. That is basically they just want to increase their market size as well as their incomes. And for that, they push new products that sales operations have to go give to the market. But the right market is not known to them. And for that, we need like to do like a market survey and as well our market suitability. We see from these products where would they be could we like get more customers, where could we sell, what is the best pricing for different areas. And as such, this is what would happen. We get like baseline data. Basically, we have like our existing market. We take a chunk, or rather a sample of the customers, give them like a quick survey. And for that, using other data, be it demographics, be it like population, poverty and such, you create like a suitability areas and saying like, this area, yes, we are here, this area, we are not here. And for this product, this is from the existing conditions that we have examined from areas where we have customers. This is where it will be most applicable. And for that, you'll be able like to have like a wider picture of the areas that you could go and sell your products. That's just one of the scenarios, being creating the suitability, but also where before you push the final product, you need to do testing. And so for those, we call them, how do I say, we call them the hives. So I would go like give the suitable location to set up one. And if you get in the bees, so basically the hive, you get like a queen, so that is the product you're saying. And for the users, that is the bees, when they come in, we'll be able to see if it's working or not, and if the conditions that we have there, where else do the similar conditions exist. And for that, we can go in and penetrate that market. That would be one of the scenarios. And also the other scenario would be, we do not do deliveries by hand, and as such, we have our location, our customer locations, our outlets, and for these would be accurate route mapping. So basically, let's take the Amazon way. You pick like 10 packages you need delivered. So basically, you would want like a VRP, that's the like a vehicle routing problem. You have many customers you would want to serve using the shortest distance as well in the shortest time. And for that, I created like a good routing system that is currently in play, that really helps us do deliveries on time and also in the shortest time possible, cost effective possible way. Yes.
Those are such solid examples of use cases and GIS and operations. And we also had a somewhat similar approach, actually, more or less the same. You mentioned vehicle routing problem, and then there's the territory mapping. And one of the reasons why territory mapping was very central for ours specifically, and when we were distributing cylinders, was in us knowing sort of the number of tuk-tuks or trucks we need on the road. And we were also assigning what territory that tuk-tuk goes to, or that vehicle model goes to, based on components like elevation. And territory mapping really brought that out very well, in that you know the number of territories we have, the number of customers within each territory, and then now we are assigning, if these are the number of customers we have, how many tuk-tuks or trucks do we need to go to those areas based on the capacity of these assets. I love those examples so much. Now I want to know which one you are most proud of for all the ones you mentioned in terms of value. And I'm asking value specifically because as analysts, that's the other thing, right? What do our solutions actually equate to when it comes to business operations and operational efficiency, return on investment? Which one is that in all the use cases you've mentioned?
It will be the first one. That is basically getting the market right. And for that, since I came in, you have had eight more outlets from the data I've provided, and they are really performing on well. So basically, we had the existing outlets. Like you pick data, you have places A, B, C, and D. They have their different characteristics, but as well, their characteristics are dictated by other independent variables like the poverty levels, like the population of that area, the number of households, the family sizes, the age and sex of such areas, and also their distance to our existing market, and also their purchasing power. You put all those into perspective, and now you have like your dependent variable, like this being like how much you could get from there. And for this, we trained a good XGB model and got like how these values contributes to the final outcome. And for these, you do like a ranking of areas. You say like this is one, two, three, four, five, with five being the best score like you can get, one being the lowest, and zero like being areas like not habitable or so like you cannot go. Then you get like the number of households or the population there and multiply by a certain factor. You say like these will be my targets market like I would like to achieve. And for that now, after giving the scores and the areas that really look nice, sales operation now created new outlets. So far it's been like 1 year, and now we have like eight new ones since I came from the data, and there's been no complaints. So I guess the targeted market was perfect. That like is the most thing that I'm proud of, as well as the anybody else in the team.
Okay, so the output is a raster surface, but showing like a ramp from least suitable to most suitable.
Yes, but now divided into hex. Like you could use grids as well, depending. So you just thought like from this market, could you give us like a radius of 50 meters? I mean like 50 km. Which areas should we go? Or from these areas as such, which areas could we go?
I'm seeing we also used some of the same factors because you mentioned purchasing power, you've mentioned population density, those are quite primary in creating our markets or our territories. And we were purely running on ArcGIS, and we were running on the ArcGIS Business Analyst. It was very useful in terms of creating or deciding sort of the data enrichment because the analyst has this demographic and socioeconomic data. So we got that from the analyst and then now fed the logic on these are the number of territories we want. We want to break it down based on population density, purchasing power. I think there was age as well. And then we made sure they were bound by the county boundaries. So that's how we came up with our territories. And we could see how that changed how we were making decisions in terms of now we could be able to geofence territories and know, if a tuk-tuk sells outside of that territory, then that is sort of flagged. If you have stopped in a territory or at a customer location for more than the approximate time it takes for you to make a sale, then you're also flagged. And those are really insightful in terms of ensuring that there's a lot of efficiency in market, and it created a lot of proactivity in terms of drivers knowing, oh yeah, we actually need to move fast in the market. Because again, I think time in market is a very key indicator when it comes to the business you're in. Like ours, time was a very key component, right? And systems allow you to do that, and our territories allowed us to do that. And of course, our tuk-tuks had sensors that could be able to, again, be integrated into the system. So you see a lot of shift and changes in business as soon as you start integrating location into your business systems, and it enables you to see a lot of behaviors, driver behavior, territory behavior that you would not have otherwise picked outside of a geo-enabled system. And now I'm curious to know your tool set, right? Because we were at that point we were fully running on ArcGIS. Of course, we had other tools like, you could write your own Python code, you could write your R code, and then you would now push that for visualization. But what does your tool set actually look like?
Okay. First things first. Also, we also have territories, as you call them. We also do have them, but they do not follow like the counties or anything. They follow like the more we do expand, like they're not defined, like they're not like at definite like it's a county or anything. It's just how we feel where we wanna reach today. So they are dynamic. They go on expanding as we move, but they cannot like how do I say? They cannot overlap each other. And for the tooling as well, that was all done in R, if I may say. That's why it chose R as my arsenal. But for the first data cleaning and everything, that was done in ArcGIS. We do have licenses for that. And after that is from data, the first part, that is from the first part of data ingestion, there'll be rasters, vectors as well, and visualize these. Push it to a simple dashboard, either in AWS QuickSight or in R Shiny, if it's they just want to see it locally. But yeah, anybody else want to see it? As I said, we are a subsidiary of another company, so guys in other countries can use now whatever is in AWS QuickSight, basically. Yeah.
I'm looking at how you've mentioned quick sites, and I'm going back to like the use case you mentioned, like the vehicle routing problem, the VRP, and I'm trying to think about how these outputs get to the field teams or get to the operations teams on the ground that actually need it, right? Like for ours, when we're creating like the optimized territories, how we'd get it to the drivers is we'd have business applications. So the driver would have like a driver's app that they're using to sell. And that's how we plug this maps, right? And they get to see this on their applications or on the phones they're using. How do you handle that last mile between you, the GIS analyst who's created the output, and the person on the ground who's doing the delivery of these products? In our scenario, gas, right?
Yes, sure. Internally, we use QuickSight for all visualizations, and as such, after I get okay, let's assume we have the values 1 to 5. So basically, it's like a choropleth map. You'd overlay that in the sales of dashboards as well. Overlay the customer locations and the existing geofences, and for that, you'd look for the part where uh, yes, it's a 5, but you're already in saturation such that you have a lot of customers there. So it won't like be the best market to venture in. So you would filter those areas out, like how many number of customers here, what is the my number would like to get. So I see like I've already got into saturation. So already anybody in sales up, or rather they would like be it even the last mile team, they would know like yes, would need to get assets here, but already we are in saturation and such. Scrap this area. It would we go even to an area with like a scoring of 4 or even 3, and say yes, we only have like a few customers here, but still we could do so much more and such. So basically, it's not in isolation, it's embedded into the other full systems as well. But some exist as, how do I say, they are just like a one time solution. They just want to see what's happening. So basically, those would give just a simple reports, not anything to embed in the final system, I'd say. So.
I'm literally rubbing my hands in excitement for this next question. I get very excited about emergent tech and how it's shaping workflows in different industries and professionals. And I'm referencing one of your LinkedIn posts where you were talking about, I think, the role of cloud and how it's changed, even how we look at geospatial data, how we store it, how it's evolving. And I want to get your thoughts, just referencing that on how you see or how you've seen the different technologies shape the different workflows that we've had previously, right? And if you've had an advantage of using traditional methods, what that was like, or traditional workflows, what that was like, and now imagine tech, right? Like cloud. When we talk about things like, you're definitely an AWS fan. And so, yeah, how has that changed your workflows, how you do your workflows as a GIS analyst?
Yeah, I would say I'd first give like a small way, that is presentation on the traditional way of how we used to collect data from the field, the data we used to receive from the field, how we used to get it, how we used to store it, retrieve it, and how they say visualize the same. So earlier on, most people would be go to the field, fill in forms, be it Kobo, be it ODK, then get that like into ODK Central, download, clean your data, store it like in a PostgreDB. From there, you query it locally and map. But in this case, we have like a lot of data, structured and unstructured, from both field guys, IoT devices, and such. So the first part would be like to link those IoT devices such that they just push data to an unstructured DB. In this case, like being DynamoDB, and from there, you now go personally say which parts of this IoT data do I want. And for that, you'd create like a crawler that will get the data from that DB. And for this, you'd use like AWS Glue. And for the after that, you create the crawler. It will create tables and store that data in like what do I say? The table like in a like an S3 bucket. And for these you'd like use create jobs such that any day after a job is like after get people from the field IoT, we get the data. I use like AWS Glue, such like a simple ETL. It will query, extract data from the DynamoDB, transform it to the table that you really want, and load it into like an Amazon S3 bucket. From there, like you already now have structured data. Then here you use now AWS Athena to query the S3 buckets, and you can download the data now as CSVs, or any other format you'd want, CSV, JSON. And if it's something like you're always doing day in, day out, you'd create like an AWS Lambda function. You want it like to happen like at 7:15, so you create a trigger in AWS Event Bridge so that anytime so that Lambda functions run, triggers the ETL, and you'll be getting your data at any given time. And if it fails, you'll get like a real-time notification. Earlier on ni mtu wa field akupigia leo ni kama haija load sasa. So but for these you see like how things is going, and at any given time you see it's guys at the office would like filter out the data they would want. But yeah, so like there is not that history in case anything crashes. You that day's work is gone, and you see you're also at the mercy of the person at the field to go and upload the data. But for this, it's once it happens, it's like synced. It's doing in a matter of seconds to do. You after you just put even your name is, put the first letter, it starts like picking from there. And for these, yes, you'll have like large amount of data, but you will not be in you'd rather have the large amount of data than lose any kind of data that you'd want to have. I guess the more the merrier.
For data, yeah, definitely. The more the merrier. And we used to have this mantra where we used to say, you never delete data.
Yes.
Regardless, you never delete data. You've mentioned tools like QuickSight and DynamoDB, which are within the Amazon suite, AWS. It would be very insightful to get to know how they all come together and what they each do, and even like their counterparts in terms of what does Amazon DB equate to, right? What's the open source counterpart for it for people who've not had a chance to interact with Amazon, but we'd want to sort of know the suite and how it works.
Okay, now this is what happens. So I'll explain it from data in the field until to the end consumer. Like, I mean, to me as an analyst until I get it. So we have the guys at the field. They'll have forms, or we have our IoT devices sending out data, but the data is unstructured as well. So all that data is captured and stored in the DynamoDB. And from there, would like a person or an analyst would want to get the data using the fields I know. So like I just be getting names. I have other data that is not useful to me. Maybe it's just bloaters being sent by the IoT devices. So this is why I create like a crawler, such by glue, AWS glue for that. So you get the crawler that is will go look for the fields you want in the DynamoDB and return that as a structured query. So basically, you write it like I want field name, I want field age, I want field date of birth, I want field like where they live, for example, or even let's say county. But you see, all of these is in a structure. It's just like somewhere floating. But now I just want that part only. I don't want the rest of the data. So the crawler will get me that data. And for that, then using now I use like glue now to patch all this together. That's why it's called glue. So it's like a job. We call it like a glue. It gets it does what you call jobs. So one of these job now, after the crawler gets you those fields, the job now is to get those fields and feed them to a bucket. That is the S3. So you'll save those data as JSONs or CSVs, whatever you want there. Now structured well. It's now like your PostgreDB, like it has been loaded there. So these data after from there, it's in an S3 bucket. You would want to query it. So like in that, so you use Athena, and Athena will query your data from the DBs that you have and the tables that you have as well as views. You'd host like a PostgreDB as well. Some and now like Athena is what is provided by AWS as your dbeaver, as you'd like to call it. So that then from there you'd query the data, you get results, and you have an option of downloading it as a CSV. And from here you can do basically now your analysis or so. But you see, this data comes in daily, and you'd want to like you crawl the data and like keep on updating your tables. So you write like a trigger. This is where now AWS Lambda comes in. You create triggers, but you want them to run at a certain time. So now this is where AWS Event Bridge comes in. So like I say, I want this event to be triggered at 7:15 a.m. So like I schedule that there.
So the bridge is a scheduler. It's like a Windows scheduler or Airflow. Okay.
At any given time. So it runs at 7:15. So that is why we do it instead of like me going triggering it manually, such that if operations start at 9 by 7:15, if it does not run 7 by 7:20, I have even gotten an alert that these ETL failed, and as such, no data will be pushed. And since like before the operations are due, something is wrong, you already even have fixed it.
Thank you, Francis, for even creating that relatability. That gives us a really good perspective of what exists within their platform. I think the difference is just in the naming. Yeah, I think, yeah, if you're listening to this and you work for AWS, maybe you should just point us to where we should pick our certifications from, because I think we're ready. Thanks, Francis. And I think that alone speaks volumes about how GIS has evolved, right? These aren't the traditional tools you'd expect to hear in a geo conversation, but I think that's exactly the point, right? And as you even speaking, I'm just comparing to even some of the tools I've used. The other thing is also how the tasks and the work itself is cross-cutting, right? It spans, we've talked about, the typical powerful components of GIS, territory mapping, we've talked about vehicle routing, but it spans across that to pipelining, automations, cloud integrations. And this means that the expectations of a GIS professional today are worlds apart from what they were like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It's different. The value chain has definitely shifted. And I think that's one of the key reasons we really needed to run this series. And in many cases, people from outside GIS backgrounds are adapting faster because they're approaching it with a systems mindset, while the traditional community, GIS community, sometimes we see ourselves as, the department down the hall to your right that's like just expected to deliver maps and print maps, right? And I hope this series becomes a conversation starter. But that aside, with this evolution happening, how do you personally see your role evolving, in the next couple of years? How do you see that evolving over time?
I'd say uh, for the role, most of what you've been pastly used to would be like in a traditional way, you would always do the same thing, being repetitive tasks. But as you go, you'd not want to do the same thing today, tomorrow, at any other day, because like it will get boring at the end of the day. So that is where like a lot of the DE and also automation comes in. So like as the part where you said Lambda, don't want to run the same thing every day. So just give it like a time you run at 7:15 before operation start, such that if anything crashes before then, I'll know. Such that let's say operations start at 9. So if I have the events running at 7:15, I'll have like a 1 hour 45 minutes in case things fall apart. And for these, I feel like into the future, it would be more the same. more of you could just doing the configurations and letting things run in the background. You're just checking if things are going right, and always more of the debugging side, not like how do I say, not you even you doing the analysis as well. If you push like a certain report daily, automate it, it goes as well. Just create like ZB scripts on, or even a simple way you could be pushing it. So for my role, as I see it going on, I would say seeing how it's going to grow. I see like there's like an exponential growth for this, and new stocks, new jobs, and basically yes, that.
And, speaking of exponential growth and how you're seeing your role evolve from a broader perspective, a broader industry perspective, that also changes the foundational skills that we need to have and you need to stay abreast of, right? To stay competitive in this fast evolving space. Even my foundational skills have truly changed, right? Which reminds me, I remember when I was still very new in the world of product development and being part of a software team. And when I was creating the queries, I remember at some point just sitting and thinking, are you guys sure I should be doing this? It was so new to me because I'm coming from this traditional GIS space, and then suddenly no one really cares about your cartography. And I'm curious to know sort of your take on this movement or this disruption that's happening skill set wise and your experience with that as well.
Okay, I'd say when also I came in, I thought it would be like more of GIS. So you give me just the XY, do some magic on it, create maps. But I just came here to find like that's not the case. And I would say from my current stand, it's 70% other things, 30% GIS being like after you bring all these things together, now explain that in a map, like bring it visually, like no, this is where the analyst part comes in, but you need like to get your data, you need to transform it, like you, as you said, a lot of SQL comes in here, optimize your codes and your queries as well. And at the end of the day, you'll be doing a lot of analysis that is not spatially based, because for the spatial based, I would say it's just an XY, but you also need to see how are other things coming in. So you will give your locations like an ID somewhere. After you do your analysis, you just do like the letter join and now explain it visually. But I would say in terms of how the market is currently right now, yes, GIS is a big thing, but as well, you should not be like your, what do I say? Yes, it's your ride or die, but you do not need to say like it's the only thing that is there. You'll only really, after, how do I say? It's GIS is more of a support system to everything, such that even before things happen, you'll need GIS, and while still they are going on, you'll need GIS, and as such, you'll also need the other parts of you knowing, is it be it coding, also like the business part, understanding the operations, how they go, knowing which tools to use. Do not come with like a closed mind of saying these are the only tools I can use. When you go there, the problem is what will dictate the tools that you will use. I can have a problem now, and my asthma that is I won't solve it. The best visualization ArcGIS won't solve it. You'll need like to think again. This is what I'm needed to do. What is the best way I can do it? Not you saying this is what I do. What is your problem? How can I do it? Like I need first things first. Like need to do it the way the client wants, not the how I want it. And once you do like the delivery, the problem is what dictates your arsenal, as I would say. And in terms now of the emergent trends and how they are going to shape how things we are doing, like we are observing like a significant shift in how like JS data is being managed, processed, and how also the size of GIS data. So basically, you're moving from traditional small files to more of big data, and as such, you need like more processing power, specialized capabilities as well, be it in your platforms that you use, and as such, that is why you see most of the things I said. Like I'm shifting from traditional desktop to more of like cloud solutions for this, and for this, you'd say like it would be a small example, a small like a background in RS. Earlier on, you do like your survey easy, let's say. RTKs or even your delights. But now you come just fly a drone and you'll be good to go. You need to like shorter time, also adapt as well. And at the end of the day, the business won't care if you're not like coping with the trends. They just let you go and get somebody else who is like chop and everything.
That is such a hard truth right there. Yeah, the business does not care. For
Had
sure.
to be said.
As you're winding up, I have a two-part question. One is, are there aspects of your work that you think are underappreciated or underestimated? And the second one, some of the challenges you've experienced, whether technical or non-technical, in your role as a senior geoanalytics engineer.
The biggest problem is everybody, when you come into the team, you'll be the mop guy. You won't be the analyst. They would clearly only say like you are tied to your GIS, nothing more. You have nothing else to offer than creating maps for us. And until they realize you can query better, you can code better than them. And as such, I would say GIS is always overlooked as only a small part of everything, yet should be like a support system and also should be the backbone of a lot of things that people do, and that is being people in management won't really appreciate you, people in sales operation will, people in last mile will do, people in deliveries will do, people trying to get the right location for person where can we go, they'll always appreciate that for you. And also when you're going to I say these like bigger companies also, if you're just the first person, like in my way, you'll find always a lot of blockers in getting the right tools for you to use, as they would want you to adapt to what they already have, not what you're comfortable in using. And also for the first few minutes of your work, you'd always under deliver because you are in the learning curve, not in the delivery curve, I would say. And that goes to a lot of people in other sectors as well, if I may say.
I love those points so much, so much. Francis, I don't know if you have any resources that we can share with the audience. I will post the link in the podcast description and check them out, see if they're helpful as you'll try to stay abreast of what's happening in the market.
Okay, thank you. For the resources, my go-to, I would say first things first is LinkedIn. I follow like a lot of people who have like different views on the current trends in GIS. I'll name three. There is Milan Janosov. There is also Matt Forrest, Milos Popovic. They really offer like weekly tutorials on different tools. For example, Milos being good in R, Matt being good in a web, as well as Christian Lutz and such. And also going in the best, also other learning tools are your friends, I would say. They offer you, they tell you this is what you use in our company, and if you try to use it, it would be good. If I would like do a name drop, one would be the lead developer at RCMRD, that would be for Damula Isaac, and as well as a friend in Dalberg, that would be Mukari Adikstein. And as such, they try always to give you like insights on how they're working, what they're working on, and what the tools they're working. Also, GIS Lounge, and also a lot of. Right now, we have a lot of what would I say AIs. You can always Google anything, like search in it, give you like a deep research on any topic you'd like to explore, and make YouTube your friend as well.
Thank you so much, Francis, for saying yes to coming to the pod. I truly appreciate you taking the time to share with us your experience, the tools. You've shared such wealth of knowledge, and thank you for that. For the audience, I will post the resources in the podcast description. Once again, this was episode 5 of the Tech Stack series, which is the final episode of this particular series with Francis Kioni, who is a senior geoanalytics engineer at MGAS. The podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Until next time, that's a goodbye from Francis and I. Francis, do you want to say goodbye?
It's been my pleasure. I thank you for having me. And also, sorry for not being so available as well as. For the listeners, I hope you find something in our conversation that sparks your curiosity and also encourages you to explore any technologies as well as GIS. And yes, that's me. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Until next time, guys, be safe.